10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh boy, I get chills.
Rock and roll.
Oh, I get chills. We should have done this a long time ago. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to It's Only Talk and Roll. We're actually getting back to talking about music this week for some strange reason. I guess we haven't done that for a while, and it's more than we've delayed for some reason. I've delayed talking about the mighty, mighty Van Halen. Before we get started on that, first of all, there's a couple of things I'd like to do, though. One is I'm going to just kick off a poll, and I want you all to judge which of these Dave Lee Roth looks is the definitive Dave Lee Roth. We have, and the poll is just getting started. Just kicked it off now. So, number one, of course, is the inclusive spandex look. Very up to date, modern. It doesn't even look like Dave Lee. Weird. Number two is the furry boots. Very, very, very slinky, very furry boots. Number three, I'm calling the package. Number four, tiger blood. So,
right.
So these are
the
four.
Package looks like it's in diver down colors.
That's right.
Yeah.
So well, this is four of Dave Lee Roth's finest looks. Please, you be the judge. The poll is in the chat, so go for that. And we'll look at that again later. So because I'm not sure I can keep looking at that right now.
Dave was a unique dude, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that is a good one. So a couple of other things. First of all, a couple of super chats already. We'll get those. Well, I mentioned those right now. First from our great friend Tim, FKHC 2005, $1, which is going to be 25% more Canadian as of tomorrow. $1. Thank you, Tim, for that $1 and all your support. And you've been in the chat all afternoon, just you and me. And as you were a hockey goalie, I am going to play you something for that if I can get my mouse to behave. How about this one? One of the greats. Goalies can fight too. Thank you very much for that, Tim. Appreciate that very much. But also, our amazing friend WG, great guy. Obviously met him in person in Vegas last year and we're hanging out. Wonderful guy. $50. My God, that's like a month's worth of super chats for me. $50 for WG. Thank you, my friend. Best song during the Roth era equals Unchained. Well, we did a little clip of that there. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, no, I can never do it. On a break, one break coming right up is one of the best lyrics ever. Truly, it is one of my favorites as well, Unchained. We must obviously thank you, WG, for that massive support. I mean, that's means a lot to me from guys like you and Tim, super chatting and all that stuff. What can we play for you, my friend, that would be suitable? We got to go for the classic.
Yes, sir. I love it.
Yeah, the classic for WG. Thank you, my friend. Thanks,
Don't let him
mate.
fool you. He likes those thick thighs and the go-go boots back.
Well,
He
yeah.
does, especially if it's Dave Lee Roth with the thick thighs and the go-go boots. Welcome one and all. Today we are, as I said, we are talking about an era and a band that is very dear to my heart, I have to say, as we discuss the formative years of the mighty Van Halen, the Dave Lee Roth era up to 1984. I had all the cassettes. This was my cassette-heavy era. I had every one of those albums on cassette in the car all the time.
Did you have the suitcase to carry him around in, bro?
I did. I've had multiple cases to carry
know
them around. The back of the car was full of cases. No slight on Sammy Hagar, who I also love dearly, but otherwise there'd be too much Van Halen to do today, so we're just going to focus on that first Dave Lee Roth era. So we'll be spanning the band's explosive rise from their 1978 debut to the mega hit 1984 album. What was the impact? What's their place in the metal and hard rock pantheon? So bring your spandex and let's rock. It's Van Halen Day on It's Only Talk and Roll. Welcome, everybody. Please like the stream, share it out, all that good stuff. And today we're doing something a little bit different for the first hour. We're going to be here on YouTube. We are already over on Rumble. And there is a link to the Rumble stream up there. Low Spec, Joe, Vince, and Christian are over there already. First hour, after the first hour of chat on YouTube, we're going to cut that and we're going to exclusively go over to Rumble, and we are on Twitter too, and play some tunes. Because we're tired of talking about music, not playing tunes.
And not playing no tunes, yeah.
So we're going to...
Christian has, and Pope, Metallicus, have led the way in getting some actual music played during live streams.
Exactly.
We dig it for sure.
And speaking of being on Twitter, I'm actually back on.
Wow.
Yes,
nice.
I noticed that. Yes, we've been connecting on there. So well.
God help us all.
Yes, only a matter of time before I threaten Germany again.
Oh.
Well, you're okay because the president's doing that anyway. So
Fair enough.
That's right. You're just following orders. We were following orders.
So we just yell at Germany. Anytime there's a world war threat, we just yell at Germany out of habit.
Right? Hey, get in line.
It's not us. Oh, yeah, sorry.
So we will be transitioning today, which some people may say we've done a while ago. Well, welcome to my wonderful panel of guests. I've got my high sticker channel member, Christian, and our great friend, Christian. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, sir.
Dave.
And I put my vote in. It's the Furry Boots because there's no better show or video than watch David Lee Roth and Furry Boots singing Pretty Woman. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That to me, that got my vote.
I don't know. I thought you might have liked the package better.
Nah, I got one that's bigger and better, so I don't need that one.
Anyway, it's good to have you on board, my friend. Imperitus, sir, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. These guys, believe it or not, also have a special place in my heart for a couple different reasons.
Yeah.
They were the first show I ever went to go see.
Wow. That is amazing, man.
And then I have just a lot of good memories of me and a buddy of mine driving around doing whatever. And the three bands we listened to the most were Van Halen, Jethro Tull, and Pink Floyd.
Nice.
Wow, that's an eclectic mix.
That's pretty cool. You are a true classic rock fan, then.
Something like that.
You like the cod pieces in the packages, I can tell. It's like cod pieces in the packages. I'm not sure if Pink Floyd can fit into that either. But great to see you here, my friend. And yeah, first. So, what year was that? The first gig?
Yeah.
What year?
92 or 93.
All right, cool. Oh, nice. Well, I hope you had a great night. The first night is always special.
Yeah, it was a good time. Definitely a good time.
Good time. And I've got nothing against Sammy. Sammy's great. We don't have enough time to do both parts of the band. So, it wasn't the Gary Sharon.
No.
Let's not forget about that. There's some memes about that. So anyway, Pope, thank you for being here, my friend. I know you've got a lot to say about Van Halen, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Eddie's always been one of my inspirations as a guitar player and just kind of changed the entire way the instrument is even played. Yeah.
It was. He's like, I mean, I know the comparison's been made many times. He's like the Mozart of the guitar.
And if you listen to some of the arrangements, a lot of it is neoclassical and Baroque, just like Mozart or Beethoven. So
Baroque and roll, yeah.
And he named his son Ludwig. I think it's Ludwig.
Wolfgang.
Yeah, Wolfgang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, but yeah, that tapping, the two-handed tapping thing, I don't know. I mean, there's probably somebody had done it before.
Probably, but he's certainly the one who perfected it and made it famous.
Yeah, his fret work was something else.
And he's the reason we have guitar tabs, so.
Yeah, and then of course you got guys, everybody picked it up, Randy Rhoads, Steve Vai, all these guys later. The influence is enormous for Van Halen.
Yeah. I mean, and even some of the guys who were in it before him, like, you can hear a lot of, even in Judas Priest's work in the 80s, you can hear a lot of Van Halen's phrasing in, Glenn Tipton and KK Downing's work.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, as one or two people have mentioned, it had been done before, but not necessarily in a metal context or even popularized to that extent. It was just like a revelation because Eddie just became so big because of that.
Yeah.
So like it went from the sort of more technical guys and like Steve Hackett has been mentioned in Genesis, bizarrely enough, an early name for Van Halen. Yeah, but Eddie just took it to another level. I remember distinctly hearing that first album the first time, and it was like a nuclear explosion went off. Oof. I went, what the fuck is this? And this, I couldn't get enough of it. It's like, I've never heard anything like this. So it was huge. The influence on me as a listener and an appreciator of hard rock and metal. An American metal band, because American metal, I mean, I was so steeped in British metal, which was more your kind of denim-clad, leather-clad, Sabbath, Deep Purple, and then on to Priest and all those bands. And America had a lot of great hard rock bands, but I never saw them doing metal until I heard Van Halen 1. I went, that's a metal band.
Yeah, and it's funny that they're not. It shows you how far the genres have shifted, in that they're not considered metal today.
Not today, no. But
in '78, that was some of the heaviest shit anyone had ever heard out of the U.S.
Yeah, I can't think of a band before them that wasn't. Well, I mean, you had your Vanilla Fudges or whatever back earlier than that were kind of heavier sound, but this was just a whole different ball game.
And it was kind of interesting too, in that, like, in Britain with the metal scene, you have that build up in the '60s from the Kinks leading into Deep Purple and Zeppelin and stuff like that, and then you get to Black Sabbath. Whereas you'd never really heard anything like that out of the States before Van Halen, and it's just like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I can't think of another band that I would have classed as a metal band out of the States up till then. I mean, there was glam stuff like Kiss, and there was plenty of great rock bands, don't get me wrong, lots of hard rock bands, but a band that was just pure sonic assault and metal like that.
Yeah, we kind of went the hard rock and punk route.
Yeah, there's
Whereas
edge of punk
Britain
in it.
focused on metal, but also had a punk scene.
There's a bit of a punky edge to some of Van Halen's early stuff too. I think it's definitely atomic punk. I mean, even the name, you know. But we'll get into some of the albums as we go. I forgot to say hello to Joe. So hello, Joe.
Oh, you know, once you and Pope start talking music, I
Joe.
knew I wasn't going to be back for a minute. Yeah.
Every time I see Joe, I want to sing Jambalaya. I just don't know why.
Of course you do.
Yes.
It's because of where I live. You know what's up, man. We're just wrapping up Mardi Gras down here. You're lucky I don't have a Corona in my hand right now.
Jambalaya is delicious. I had some.
It is.
Yeah, dude. We had a good
Down
time
there.
when you came down to New Orleans.
Well, I'm more of a gumbo
yeah.
fan myself. More of a gumbo.
Gumbo's good too. I got to tell you guys, this is one of my favorite bands ever. Listened to them more than I did Foreigner in high school.
Oh, really?
And I'm lucky enough in the area I live in that Valerie Bertinelli used to bring her husband to the nightclub I bartended at in the late 80s. I actually got to sit down and have a beer with Edward playing Miss Pac-Man at a sit-down video game platform.
Oh, I remember those.
He was a big gamer. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but he loved video games, man. He played the shit out of them.
That's
very competitive at him, let me tell you, man. But he was a sweetheart of a guy.
Fingers were
Valerie is from Shreveport, and actually, I think she's from the Blanchard area. I'm not quite sure. Don't hold me to that, but she's from the west side of the Red River. And I wish I could have got a copy of it. Matter of fact, I asked my dad to send me either a picture or send it back to me. My dad has all my autographed memorabilia. And when I was in the nightclubs, I used to do the lobby cards, the posters for the upcoming shows. And David Lee Roth was actually playing at Denim and Diamonds when I worked there. I think it was 94 he came through. And I did a portrait of him. He was a fiery guy, so I picked yellows and oranges. It was a time when I was doing Nagel type stuff, you know, solid color kind of thing. And the manager took it back there after the show, and he actually signed it for me. So he's one of the ones that I have the signature on work that I actually did. So
very nice.
I wish I could have gotten it for the show here for you, but
no, that's good.
I just talked to him. The reason why I talked to him is the club that I worked at with these guys back in the day when I did all this stuff is having a reunion on April 4th at a local club here in town. And I'm going to get either pictures or he's going to send me the actual stuff. I have a Sam Kinison one too, my favorite comedian.
Nice.
That was signed by him 2 weeks before he passed away. But anyway, yeah, love this band. I think they're one of the baddest ever. I know they had their biggest hit with Sammy Hagar, but I really love this era of Van Halen the most.
Different era. Yeah.
So totally different era.
Just to remind everybody, there is a poll in the chat, and we only got 11 votes, and that's rookie numbers. Bump up the numbers in that poll. And Lord Thoth, no, when he says, "Can I choose none of the above?" I would remind you, as a philosopher said, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. There you go. As a famous Canadian philosopher once wrote.
I picked the inclusive one, man, because that's Dave. That's what he wore most of the time, was that crazy looking shit right there.
And we'll be showing some of those looks on Rumble in the second hour when we play some of those videos. Right, so just we'll run through some of the. I mean, this isn't an in-depth history of the band because that would take forever. I did want to credit. There's a great website called the Van Halen News Desk where I get a lot of info from, and they did have some images on there. I beg their forgiveness for using a few of those. I've tried to credit every image to where I got it from today, much as I could. But check out the Van Halen News Desk online. Excellent site. Tons of great stuff. So this is the boys when they're little. But yes, they sold something like 40 million plus record sales for those first 6 albums globally. 700 live shows with something like 7.5 million ticket sales. So enormous band.
Why does it look like to me that's Eddie sitting down with the drumsticks?
Because Because it is.
Eddie
Yeah.
was the drummer when they
Yeah.
were kids. He wanted to drum, and Alex
Mm.
wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
So the origin goes back to the 1960s, playing in the local Pasadena bands. They were born in Holland. Father was a
Yeah.
musician, Jan Van Halen. They moved to Pasadena in 1962. Alex was the elder by 2 years. He did want to play guitar. Eddie wanted to play drums. But before they really started gigging, they switched. I guess they figured, yeah, this isn't working. Obviously, Eddie was born in 55, tragically passed away from throat cancer in 2020. Sadly missed.
Just one of the many, many reasons 2020 is the shittiest year.
It was a terrible year.
COVID.
Terrible year. Before I go any further, I did want to pay tribute to another couple of people who passed away this week.
Oh, yes.
David Johansen of the New York Dolls.
Buster Poindexter. Yeah.
Buster, which I always loved the Buster Poindexter thing that he did. It was so off the wall, given the sort of punkish original New York Dolls idea. So he passed away at 75, but also one of my favorite bands of my entire life, Badfinger. The last original member, Joey Molland, passed away yesterday. Tragic band with a tragic end, but wrote some wonderful songs and made some wonderful albums. So R.I.P. to those two guys. Thank you for all the music that they gave us. So check both of those. Check the Dolls out and check Badfinger out. You won't be disappointed. Great stuff. So, but to return to our good friends in Van Halen, I just thought I'd get that one in there while I remembered about those. So R.I.P. Eddie. But an early outfit in Pasadena was these guys, the Broken Combs.
Nice.
That's a great name.
It is. I love the big T. I mean, you can tell it's like 1968 or something. I don't know, 1970. You can tell the big TV, the big old TV in the corner. It's great. Then in 1972, they formed a band called Genesis, which even at that time, Genesis were a band that existed in Britain. So they probably didn't realize that. And they did go through a few name changes. And the Genesis band gigged around Pasadena. And at that time, it's interesting to hear when you read about them, they were playing covers by Cream, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Foghat. Remember Foghat? That was the kind of stuff they were playing in these cover sets that they used to do. So that's where you can see what their influences were. A lot of British rock and metal in the early 70s. So it's quite interesting to see that, especially as has been mentioned, and there's a poster later, they ended up supporting Black Sabbath on early tours. And then, of course, there was Dave Lee Roth.
Is that him?
That's him.
Oh, yeah. That's him.
1974, they recruited Dave Lee Roth from a rival local band, Red Ball Jet. Larger-than-life persona, acrobatic stage presence, fairly athletic guy, gritty vocalist, and he was a budding entrepreneur at the time because he kept renting out his band's PA system to the Van Halens because theirs kept blowing up and was shitty. So the suggestions are they asked him to join what became Van Halen because they were tired of paying him money to rent his PA.
Makes sense.
Another early Red Ball Jet picture. I wish I could have credited whoever took it, but it's you can. I mean, it looks like a cross between Skinnerd and somebody. I don't know. This guy's interested on the.
He looks like he's part of the Three Amigos.
He does. So, Diamond Dave, born in Indiana in 54, moved to Pasadena in his teens, so he wasn't a native Californian. Fun trivia fact, though, his uncle Manny Roth owned New York City's famous Cafe Hoa, where Bob Dylan and many others got their break.
Oh, nice.
Down in Greenwich Village there. You what? So it came from a showbiz background in a sense, with that kind of thing going on. Diamond Dave, I've always liked that name. So not long after 1974 era, who were still, they may have been called Genesis or Mammoth or any of the names they were running through. They had a bass player, Mark Stone, who they got rid of in favor of Michael Anthony. Mark Stone went on to be the long-term injured reserve specialist in the Vegas Golden Knights team. So he did quite well. This is a man who only ever plays in the playoffs. So he may have lost out on a career with Van Halen, but he's done okay in the injury department. Yes, the hockey injury department. I had to get a hockey joke in somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So Michael Anthony here with what doesn't look like a bass, but never mind. Gibson Explorer.
That's a regular.
That's a flying V.
Flying V, sorry, flying V.
Yep.
Sorry, I was
That's a flying
And
V.
that is a regular guitar.
Yeah, that's a 6-string, no doubt.
But Pope, don't most bass player can play guitar and vice versa?
A lot of them can, yeah. A lot of them start out as rhythm guitar players and then either switch to bass or vice versa. They're similar.
Yeah, I mean, they can usually, guys like Michael Anthony can play lots of stuff. But Michael Anthony Sobolewski, a bassist who has always been admired, quite rightly, for his powerful voice, like a secret weapon on the vocals. If you got this guy in your band and backing vocals, you're killing it, you know?
Yep.
Brilliant vocalist. Well.
I still want his Jack Daniels bass. That thing is
I saw the pictures of it today.
Oh my God.
It's in a museum now, I think.
So awesome.
So Michael Anthony, born in Chicago, but nobody's perfect, in 1954, moved to California in 1966, became a bassist as most of his friends already played guitar, but the fun fact is he plays a right-handed bass even though he is left-handed.
Yes, that's a story you hear all the time. Right,
I mean, how many times have we covered that? An excellent musician who plays a right-handed instrument but is in fact left-handed.
And those guys are all masters of that instrument, like Rick Emmett from Triumph and all those guys. They're all
Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits.
Exactly.
There's a lot of guys that were like that. We know famous.
Well, Jimmy played it left-handed, but he inverted the strings and used weird tunings on each string.
He played the right-handed guitar upside down, left-handed, so that the strings were inverted. So it's like,
like he had one of the most autistic setups for a guitar I've ever seen, but he worked.
Yeah, where would you even begin with that? You know, so they got the four. I mean, Michael Anthony being a band called Snake, and they played all the ZZ Top, Skinner, Cream, and Zeppelin stuff, and they played a lot of the same gigs. These bands were all playing the same Pasadena gigs, so they all knew each other. But they got that final four in sort of 74 era that made up the current or the legendary lineup. Here's their early logo.
Nice.
Van Halen logo. So they cycled through a few names. They finally realized Genesis was taken. I think Eddie picked up a Genesis album in a store, Nursery Crime or something. I went, shit, can't use that one. Then they went to Mammoth, which is a great name, and I'm pretty sure another band probably used that later. Mammoth sounds familiar.
Yeah, but once you hear Van Halen, you can't have any other name. Like Mammoth would have been okay, but and it worked for the Allman Brothers. So why wouldn't it work for the Van Halen Brothers? Yeah,
and that's what Dave Lee Roth supposedly suggested. He said, "Why do we call it Van Halen? Because lots of bands use their name in the band, and it's a great marketing thing and whatever." And so it wasn't them that suggested it; it was actually him supposedly. So
nice.
But they became the band we now know and love. And then did that thing that there's Van Halen with Snake, which was still Michael Anthony's band, and Brown Eye, which is not a good name for a band. Especially not you're playing with Dave. But they did that.
A little known predecessor of the Butthole Surfers.
That's right, the Butthole Surfers. So we have a new super chat, which will pop up on my. Oh, there it is, Eric K. Our great friend Eric K, the man who put his meat in your mouth in Vegas. 499 from Eric K. Dave Lee Roth, according to my lino driver, but maybe he was made of vinyl, I don't know. Lino driver. I always got in Vino, the only band that yelled out the window, "Hey, you want to fuck?" And the girls got in. I've tried that, and usually I end up in jail.
Yeah, somebody calls the cops, ironically enough.
That's right. Thank you very much for that, Eric. You too will be entitled to receive some kind of clip for that. What's it going to be?
Holy diver, you've been down too long in the midnight sea. Oh, what's becoming of me?
So thank you, Eric. Hey, our great friend. Good to see you here, mate. Good to see all of you in the chat there on YouTube. Also over in Rumble, there's a ton of people chatting and posting links. Vince is doing some great moderating over there. You'll be needed later when everybody goes over to Rumble. There's a pinned link at the top with the Rumble stream where we'll be playing the tunes.
And isn't Vince the best? Literally, he goes on Joe's, he comes on my stream, he goes on your stream. Vince is the best, and all that free of charge. Vince, you're godsend.
The hardest working mod on YouTube, boys and girls.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
I love my mods. I get Vince, I get D-Bud, Martin, who's a wonderful mod. Davina does a lot of stuff, and Eric and Lord Todd, but D-Bud's a hero too. Great hero in the...
Yeah.
There is no link that Vince can't find.
I know. Vince is the man. Thank you for doing all that, guys. I do appreciate everybody that supports me by doing that stuff, because otherwise it's a one-man band here. But anyway, they did the circuit that high schools, dive bars, backyard parties, clubs, then on the LA club scene, Sunset Strip, picking up fans, getting bigger, breaking in original material, and getting that monster sound going. You know, Eddie working on that guitar sound, and Alex is a very thunderous but intricate drummer too. So getting all that stuff going. There's a picture of them in some club somewhere in 75, 76, I think. What's he playing? What's Eddie playing there? That's an Explorer-ish.
Yes.
Ish. I don't know if it's an actual Explorer.
No, that's an actual Gibson Explorer, looks like.
Yeah. Because we know he ended up with the Frankenstein guitar.
Yep.
Frankenstrat. But yeah, lots of lovely posters. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time looking at these, but there's tons of that material out there if you want to look it up. All the great flyers. They printed their own flyers in those days, man. And
put it on telephone posts.
Yeah. And there's demos out there you can find and live recordings of them playing stuff like that. But this time they're playing Stones, Bowie, Bad Company, Rick Derringer, Robin Trower.
All the classics.
And this is brave of him. Alex actually put his phone number on the freaking flyer.
That's right, he did.
Oh, man.
Wonder if it still works.
Probably not.
So then came a 1976 gig at the Starwood on Santa Monica Boulevard, famous venue. Gene Simmons of Kiss saw them there, was blown away with them, and then took them to produce a demo at Electric Lady Studios, including an original version of Running with the Devil. That actually ended up not really going anywhere, and I don't know if I've even heard those demos. They're probably out there somewhere. But it did get them more attention, and more people wanted to go see them live. Because then back at Starwood in 77, Ted Templeman and Mo Austin of Warner Brothers went to see them and went, yeah, we got to do this. We got to get these guys on board at Warner, make a deal. And the deal was made, and it lent itself to a long-running recording partnership with Templeman as producer. Recording history is the rest of it. Templeman, I don't know if anyone's aware of Ted Templeman, but
yes,
he was the producer, A&R guy at Warner. Well, he was a musician. He was in a band called Harper's Bazaar.
Okay.
Harper's Bazaar, who had a hit with Feelin' Groovy in the 60s, the cover of the Simon and Garfunkel song. You maybe have heard it in TV or radio in the past. And then he packed that in to become an A&R man, basically, producer. And he discovered the Doobie Brothers, another one of my favorite bands, produced them. And he also produced this banger of an album. This is one of my favorite hard rock albums of all time, Montrose, the debut Montrose album, featuring Sammy Hagar on vocals.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's a small world. It's a small world.
Small world. Yeah.
It's a very small world. And then, so yeah, formed a very good partnership with Van Halen, which really came to fruition pretty quickly when he got them in the studio, along with another guy you'll see mentioned on the credits. This guy called Don Landy was the engineer, close friend of Templeman's, and he worked at Sunset Sound, brilliant engineer. He even helped Eddie Van Halen build his own 5150 studio at home and so on. So the right team in place to make the music magic happen. We'll look at some of the albums soon, but this is just a few of the posters I've kind of found that I enjoyed. There's Black Sabbath with special guest star Van Halen. Imagine being at that gig. And there is footage of one of these gigs, I think. In Fresno, I think it was.
I mean, you know,
what date was it? September 2nd. Sorry, Pope.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like Black Sabbath at their absolute peak during the Ozzy era, but still, holy crap.
Holy crap is the word, yeah. I mean, if you think about being at that gig, that would be would have been something else.
As a drummer, I would just love to see Bill Ward and then Eddie Van Halen, not Eddie, sorry, Alex. Because regardless of how Eddie was flashy and everything, don't forget somebody had a backup, and his little brother was awesome on drums. Something that is forgotten. So just to watch those two drummers and live to tell that you could say I watched those two drummers, I would have been in heaven. I wouldn't mind dying tomorrow.
I know. I mean, it would be something else when you see the combinations of acts. So there's a great picture, I think, from '78.
It's either 78 or 77 because you hadn't fully finished the Frankenstrat yet. But
it's not ready yet. Yeah, it's
How many of you guys started using electrical tape all over your guitars after seeing Eddie?
Yeah.
I haven't because I don't murder my guitars like that. But I think it's cool as hell that somebody did.
Always a very athletic band on stage. Michael Anthony was a former high school athlete. Obviously, Dave was athletic as hell. Eddie didn't stand.
Dave was a martial artist, wasn't he?
I
believe he is.
Well, I think
Dave was a mountain.
Dave was into that.
He was a mountain climber, not a professional, but a very hobbyist mountain climber.
Yeah,
he did that.
Hey, he's into the sheep herding now. Good for him.
Oh, okay.
Competitive sheep herding.
I know somebody taught him how to swing a sword because that one video, he looks like he knows what he's doing with that damn thing.
Yeah, Tim, we'll do a Live Aid thing this year, I think. Absolutely. It's a few months to go, but we'll do that. But yeah, this is just some of the early material as they were getting out there. Some great stuff. Great pictures of them. I don't want to show too many pictures because I want to get, talk about the albums, which we'll be doing in a minute. I'm just going to check something. Hang on a sec. There we go. Where are we? I got to check what I got left here. Oh yeah. So just a few. There's the red now on the guitar.
Yep.
Strat.
Yep.
The women and children first stuff sessions. But yeah, they've got a look. They had a sound. They had a look. They had everything.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic frontman, virtuoso guitar player, thunderous drummer. I love the super long bass drums he had at one point. They were like cannons.
Yeah.
Silos, nuclear missile silos. This is the dinosaur video. We might look at that over in Rumble. Yeah. He's got the package on in that one.
What a nice drum set. Look at that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Eddie over in the corner looking like Waldo.
That's right. I think the giveaway in this video when we watch it is Dave Lee Roth going to the tail of the dinosaur and lying on it and rubbing it like that.
Oh no.
There's a slightly closer look at the guitar, but
it's got some mileage.
Yeah, it does. He's a little rough on those things, isn't he?
Fun fact I forgot to mention, the voice in Unchained, where it goes, "Come on, Dave, give me a break." That's Ted Templeman talking. Then Dave goes, "One break, coming right up." Yeah, the drum Ludwig. He was, I think, a Ludwig drummer most of his
nice
life. Nice
Those are good
so,
drum sets.
Yeah, that one's the bass drums are not quite as long as they were on some of the earlier performances where they went out.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Yeah,
but sorry,
Michael Anthony, which is a solid bass player, but I think it's his vocalism and vocals and athleticism on stage. Absolutely invaluable guy in a band if you get a guy like that. And then Dave is not at all looking, whatever. Hairy guy as well. He's got the Sean Connery and Charlton Heston look going.
Except he's trying to be Robert Plant, but with a leather jacket.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I was fixing to say, I always thought that same thing.
I think Christian,
Trying to be Robert Plant, yeah.
Christian was saying he looks a bit like this when he had long hair.
Yeah, well, the problem is life's irony. You know, I got no hair on my head, but my chest is full and my back is full. Go figure. Life's a little irony.
So I think it would be nice to just talk a little bit about the albums. Well, we've got about 20 minutes or so before we start cutting over to Rumble. 6 albums. Here we go. The first one, an absolute, I mean, there's not a bad thing about this album. It took my breath away when I heard it.
Yeah, that opening riff on "Running with the Devil" is just everybody recognizes that now, but at the time it was like, wow, that sounds cool as hell. They didn't sound like anybody else. That's for sure.
They didn't. I couldn't place them when I was listening to this, and I can't remember the exact day or circumstances I heard it. I think I may have heard "You Really Got Me" on the radio, and then I went and got a copy of this on cassette, because I bought a lot of cassettes, and I just could not believe what I was hearing. I thought, who are these guys? Because I'd never heard of them in Britain. They became famous, but at this point it was like, unknown. But February 78. So height of punk was coming in. Metal had been for me largely a British thing then. I hadn't heard an American band like this.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. You guys that really follow music, this was a word of mouth thing. There wasn't much on the radio from this.
Not at first, but that happened fairly quickly because everyone and their brother went and bought a copy of this, and then went to all their friends and were like, "You have to hear this.
You got to hear this." Yeah, that's how I heard it. Somebody played it for me on their phonograph, and I was like, "Holy shit, what is this, man?" I had to go check it out.
Well, for this album, I was in backstage before the show. Right when Eddie died, Rob Halford from Judas Priest was doing a tour for his book that was coming out. And somebody asked him about his experience with Eddie. And Rob was like, I still remember the night a friend of mine came over and I heard Van Halen 1 for the first time. And he's like, and we sat in the car and listened to the whole thing and must have listened to it 3 times cover to cover. And he was just absolutely blown away by He's just like, I remember thinking to myself, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, it's just like it came out of nowhere,
Rob Halford and Judas Priest were already established artists with 3 or 4 albums under him by then.
Yeah, they did go different routes. I mean, Priest and others stuck to what you would call the classic heavy metal templates, and very often Van Halen had a more of a glam and a punk edge to them, and went for more showmanship in that respect. But still had that. This album's it's just the heaviest thing going,
Dude, and all the tracks are good. This is one of those rare albums where you can listen to it way through and not get.
Not a bad track. I mean, when you really Eruption, You Really Got Me, Ain't Talking About Love. Just one thing falls into the other.
And then Running with the Devil is special for 78. I think Eruption was the one that sold people.
Oh my God.
Holy
that was a guitar solo by Eddie, and it was just wow.
The funny part is that was not a song that he wrote. It was a warm-up that he used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was doing it in the booth at one point, and the producer was just like, start rolling.
Yes, he said, record that shit. But and I love Ice Cream Man. That's one of my favorites.
Daswolfen, God love him. He's working late, so he couldn't be here, but he was referencing that song in a tweet that he put out.
I love that track.
Yeah. My favorite one is Ain't Talking About Love. I love that song, man. Yeah. I can listen to that all day.
Well, there's no bad tracks on here. I mean, it's in the pantheon of debut albums. It's got to be one of the best ever. It's in the top 5 ever. It's still one of my 10 favorite albums of all time.
And when you look at it, easily half of this record is in their greatest hits collection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I will be a Debbie Downer. Unfortunately, classic rock has killed a few of these songs. Jamie's Crying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, wherever you are on this continent, wherever you're in America or Canada, that song plays on every classic rock, and it's like, okay, change the channel.
Yeah.
But that's my only knock on this album is stations have overplayed.
Yeah, there's
They have.
some of these tracks and some of the 1984 tracks have suffered from that, which is a shame because they're still wonderful songs. But you think, well, I'm not going to listen to that because I've heard it a million times now. And as Low Spec says, at the time, even you could go to the park and there would always be somebody blasting Eruption somewhere. It just became like, you couldn't get away from it.
We used we have VA Park here, and it has a Frisbee golf course, and we were either blasting Van Halen or Boston all the time, man. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Just talking about the guitar, I forgot to mention that I think apparently the Frankenstrat guitar had like pretty cheap parts. It wasn't like a hugely expensive, like it was an $80 neck and a $50 body, and he just painted it all those designs. So it didn't at first. It wasn't.
It was a second, which is basically one that didn't meet Fender's quality standard. So they were basically just going to throw it out, but they have like a parts bin essentially, and Eddie bought the neck and body off of it for like $50, and he always wanted a Fender Strat body style, but wanted the Gibson pickups with it. So he had to custom hollow out all the indents for the pickups and all that, and custom wire it, and it's
so
really
Frankenstein that sucker basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. I mean, and I think one of them, the pickup switch is literally just a random switch he had in a parts bin.
But just to I mean, as a Kinks fan and a lifelong Kinks fan, when I heard their version of "You Really Got Me," I thought, couldn't believe it. It was just,
it's good.
Really? That is so good.
And yet, when you look at how they recorded it when they made it, and this version, I think this is what they were really going for. They just didn't have the tech to go that hard yet.
Mm. It had a lot of attack. That's what I love about Eddie's guitar playing. The attack on it, it's not half-hearted. It's like it slices into you. But it was like a nuclear explosion for me hearing this album. I didn't know people could do these things with their clothes on. Or except in Dave's case, not with his clothes on. Don't forget the poll on YouTube. We're going to end that poll in a couple of minutes. Let's remind you what you're voting on. We can get this bloody mouse to work. There we go. This is what you're voting on. Your favorite Dave Lee Roth outfit. Still think 3 is the best. So, but anyway, so great album. We'll talk about it more when we play a couple of tunes from it. Just some of the singles from that, Jamie's Crying, You Really Got Me, and some of that market material. It had some hits. They were never as big on the hit singles until the 1984 era.
Yeah, that's when they took off commercially. They really did. Yeah,
they had a couple of top 10 hits until then, but
singles. But
apparently they were much more of an albums. They weren't really thinking of singles mainly when they recorded, and they only made that. It was 3 weeks to record that album. They were always fast recorders up to later days, like just bang, 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 bang. They didn't really think in terms of this one's a single. It was all here's an album. And it was up to the record company to pick out a single. So I ain't talking about love. So yeah, it did get. I mean, it's still a hugely loved album and well known. But I from that point, I mean, some of the later albums had slightly decreasing returns commercially, not hugely because they sold millions. But Van Halen 2 from 1979 apparently only took 6 days to record. So it's a fair
6 days. Wow,
6 days.
6 days to record what?
The album
tracks?
Yeah, that's what the internet says.
So I mean, that's incredibly fast to be like recording everything produced. And they must have done most things in one take.
I think they were playing a lot of it live already, so they just did it, and it was they just wanted to get in and do it. Now, they may have tidied stuff up later, but the basic album was 6 days, according to Ted Templeman, anyway. So this one, I do like the artwork again, but this one had that "You're No Good," which is the opener, is a cover as well, an old Clint Ballard Jr. song. And then they had their kind of pop. They always had the pop edge, "Dance the Night Away."
Which, for some reason, I always loved this song because the melody is just kick-ass from Eddie.
Well, this is my picture disc single of "Dance the Night Away."
Nice.
Still have. So I like the fact that Eddie was able on the guitar to do all these melodic things. It was a bit like Queen until later, no synthesizers.
Yep.
So it was all done on the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to combine that kind of beautiful melodic stuff with really crunchy, heavy stuff. Hail Zax, good to see you, buddy.
I got a feeling he wrote a lot of stuff on the piano, though, because
probably.
You know, that was one of the things that him and Dave didn't agree on. Eddie really wanted to play the piano a lot more, and he'd tell him, "Man, you're a guitar hero. Nobody wants to see you play the piano."
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. And I did like the fact when they did bring in the synths, it was analog synths. He didn't go all digitally, and it was all that nice analog.
We did that on wasn't it? Was it 1984 Jump that he did the Jump is on
1984.
It was 1984 when he added synthesizers.
Yeah, 1984 Jump and I'll Wait particularly. But so my favorites on here would probably be, because now we're getting into tracks that are perhaps a lot of the casual, the ones that people that know the hits don't know as well. But Light Up the Sky and DOA are two ferociously good tracks on this. I like it. I mean, I liked all of these albums. Some of them
they were all good.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Didn't quite have the impact, but then how could you? You could never replicate the impact of that first album. And Somebody Get Me a Doctor is a pretty
track too. That's a good one. Yeah. I love the cover for the next album, though, man.
A lot of humor in these as well, in these songs.
Yeah.
Peter Criss and the piano, but there's a.
Well, that's always been one of my favorite things about, especially David DLR's Van Halen, is they had a lot of humor and a lot of double entendres and stuff like that in the writing, and it's really fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of humor. I love Dave does a lot of the spoken bits and pieces here and there, which he kind of just improvised a lot, and they kept them in, reach down between my legs kind of thing.
Yeah,
right.
All that stuff, and it was a ton of humor. They got a little bit darker on one or two albums, but then the difficult third album, which they only ever had one single from, which was "And the Cradle Will Rock." But I love that track. I love
it's awesome.
They use that Wurlitzer rotating speaker sound on it.
You really feel Michael Anthony's bass on that song. It is driven by his bass, no doubt about it, man. That one right there in particular,
I think it's a criminally underrated album because you've got "And the Cradle Will Rock." Everybody wants some. Romeo's Delight is an absolute ferocious rocker.
I love Everybody Wants Some, but every time I hear it, all I see is the hamburgers dancing and Better Off Dead. Really.
But there was a couple of lighter moments in it as well, but I think it had a really great, still a great rock edge. Romeo Delight is just ferocious. I love it. Take Your Whiskey Home is good. That's a bluesy one. Good fun. In a simple rhyme. There's some lighter moments too, but it's still pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And fair warning. Now, this was because they kind of changed the cover art for this one, and I played this to death, but I got it. Again, very underrated. Those who know the first album in 1984 don't know this stuff as well. This was from 1980, was it 1980? Fair warning. 1981, sorry. A bit more experimental and a bit darker in themes and sounds. In fact, the cover art, which is a Canadian artist, I can't remember his name, is all pretty dark stuff when you look at it, the images. But like Mean Street, for instance, dark song.
And there you have Unchained, which is just
Unchained is awesome. Yeah.
Again, Eddie's got that riff thing. I don't know how he does it, but it's tough because he has to do everything on the guitar there. Melodies, riffs, solos. And so you got to be good to do that, but he manages to come up with these killer openings all the time.
Well, he's almost like Tony Iommi, where the man is just a riff machine.
Yes.
Like you give him a time signature, and he'll just come up with something that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but in Unchained, Mean Street, Unchained. So This Is Love, which is a little bit of a lighter one, but Push Comes to Shove is a great track too.
Yeah.
So certainly didn't let the side down. This one probably sold a little less than some of the others, but they started to pick up again commercially by Diver Downtime.
Yeah, and they did a lot of covers on this one, and they were great, dude.
Yeah,
starting with the first track, man.
Again,
Where have all the good times gone? That's
another Kinks
awesome.
song, another great Kinks song, which is I love when they cover the Kinks. I love that. Done in 12 days, apparently. Fast recording again. That's why there's a lot of covers on it, but they were so touring so relentlessly.
Well, that's the thing, is when you're touring as much as Van Halen was at this point, you don't have time to write new material and stuff like that. You're just kind of going off of what you've already done and maybe a couple of songs you had in the can that, may or may not be ready for prime time.
Yeah. So just before we talk a little bit more about that and 1984, which will wrap up the YouTube side of it. So hopefully everybody's going to come over with us to Rumble soon. And we'll play some tunes for you as well as talking about stuff. Let's finish the poll, as Dave would say. Or shall we smoke the poll?
No, thanks.
So again, the options were, we've had a massive 16 votes, inclusive spandex, furry boots, the package, or Tiger Blood, and it's tied at the moment. So we need a casting vote. Somebody put a casting vote in that has not voted on the poll. Please, somebody. Don't make me choose.
Don't make me choose.
Furry boots all the way.
Furry boots is not going to win.
Number one. Come on.
No,
for it.
nobody else is voting. I think we're and it's not, unfortunately, we do not have it on over in Rumble, so we can't do the poll in Rumble. So, okay, I'm going to end it, and then we'll just have to have a tiebreaker. So, poll is ended. Thank you for taking part in that. Let's wait till it comes up here, and I can highlight it. And then the panel we'll have to have a tiebreaker from the panel.
Are you serious? It's tied between those two. Wow.
So hang on my birth.
Whatever.
Hang on. I'm waiting for it to come up here. Is that it? No.
It's in your chat already.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to come up on the. Here we go. Vince has got it there. Right. So furry boots and inclusive spandex, unfortunately, only got 18% each.
Shaking my head.
Losers.
So we're the tiebreaker has to come between the package and Tiger Blood.
Give it to the package. You can't give it to a banana suit with stripes, bro.
I'm going to go around. We're going to thank you to the chat for taking part of that. We're going to go around the panel. Christian, what is your vote? Tiebreaker vote.
Well, only because he makes me look good, I'll have to go with the package.
So we get a tiebreaker for the package. Imp, have you any thoughts?
That's one way to put it.
Tiger Blood or the package?
I'm going to have to go with Tiger Blood.
So we have one each. This is like a shootout in an NHL game. Hope.
Just for the sheer ridiculousness of it, I have to go with number one.
Well, you can't. You got to go for 3
no,
or 4.
You were picking between the package
between 3 and 4
and Tiger Blood.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go with 4 then. It's the more outrageous of the two.
So we got 2 for Tiger Blood, 1 for the package. Joe.
I already said it, man. You're going to have to decide because I am not picking a yellow banana suit with stripes.
So we have
Give me the package.
We got 2 extra votes for the package, 2 extra votes for Tiger Blood. I have to make the decision.
Yes, you do.
You know what? Just for the sheer balls of it, I'm going to go for the package.
All right.
The balls on that, man.
I see what you did there, and I wish I could unsee it.
Thank you for everybody for voting on this. Charlie Sheen would have picked Tiger Blood. That's true. That's why I said Tiger Blood. That was interesting to say the least. So thank you for that. We'll just have a quick run through Diver Down and then 1984. Then we'll flip over to Panel is Gay, confirmed. You're damn right there. We're not as gay as Comics Division and Culture Casino, though.
Right? Come on.
And we're definitely not flaming, so we're cool.
That's right. No. So anyway, Diver Down, which was kind of picked them up commercially again, had a lot of covers, as you say. Pretty Woman, Dancing in the Street.
Look who they were covering,
Happy
man.
Trails,
The Kinks,
Happy
Roy
Trails.
Orbison, Martha and the Vandellas,
Yes.
Roy
And
Rogers. What?
I actually love the Dancing in the Street because the way
I
he
do
does
too.
that tapping makes the melody, the tapping melody.
Oh,
He does.
so great, man.
People would say, "Oh, that's synthesizers." No, it isn't. He's doing that in the
It's his guitar. Yeah.
And
crazy.
there's nothing quite like the sonic, the Intruder.
Mm-hmm.
That Intruder instrumental before it leads into "Oh Pretty Woman." That is one of the
Cathedral's
most.
good too. Yeah.
Yeah, Intruder's got that menacing, badass sound, which I loved when they did it. So,
Sorry,
Plus
I got a comment on Vince. Sorry, Vince comment there. Totally no dick envy. No, we don't. Sorry. All right, please resume, Brian. I apologize.
No, it's okay. So, I mean, yeah, certainly Where Have All the Good Times Gone, Hang 'Em High is a great track, Intruder, Pretty Woman. There's loads of great stuff on here. And they've got the fun ones, Happy Trails and Big Bad Bill.
Mm-hmm. Big Bad Bill. That's the one that tripped me out. I was like,
That's
wow.
a real Dave Lee Roth one, I think. Yeah, but and then I love Happy Trails.
Yep.
Dave does that apart and the rest. It's a fun album, and a lot of people criticized it for having too many covers. I think it's great. I love it.
I think it's fantastic, man. I mean, they did covers, but they made those songs their own. Dancing in the Streets does not sound like the Martha and Vandellas version.
It's one of the cleverest songs they ever did. The way they did the guitar melody on it.
Mm-hmm.
Great cover. Hard to cover songs like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we came to the big one when they finally hit the huge big time again commercially, 1984, with the controversial cover.
Yes.
Smoking is bad for you. Let me just say that right now.
Yes.
Huge, enormous global hit though. Enormous global hit.
This was huge.
Right. And they were headlining huge festivals all the time after this. Or up till then, even like US Festival 83, they were headlined.
But I got a question. What about this album put him on the map? Like, would it be the song, or did they get the right formula together? What do you guys think? Like Pope and Joe, for example. What do you guys think?
I mean, you had songs like Jump and Panama and Hot for Teacher that were all
commercially huge,
singles.
but at the same time, they didn't lose their sound. But commercially, those songs were charting right off the bat.
And that synth intro and I'll Wait, I mean, that's still played at hockey games and other sporting events to this day.
Yes, absolutely, man. Yeah,
and well deserved too. It's one of the best freaking synth pieces I've ever heard.
And I love its analog synth, which I like. I mean, I think it's. Yeah,
but there's the key. That may be the key because we were hearing something new in their music that we had never heard before. And
True, and it was that epic build too. Of it almost had a movie soundtrack kind of feel to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I think the other thing for me was that it was firmly in the MTV era by now, and we know that they dabbled with videos before, like the Pretty Woman one. Generally, a lot of their videos before had just been straightforward film performances. This one they made actual videos for.
Yeah, they did.
So
especially
I think that
Hot for Teacher.
Yeah, I think that, and that would cost like, I don't know, it's like $200,000 to make or something. It was a big production. So I think that they hit that era very well with this, and they just had the hits. They had Jump, Panama, I'll Wait, Hot for Teacher, all huge hits, singles. So it was just
they were really known as a live band before this, and then
Yeah.
you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head, Brian. It was MTV that launched them.
Well, and the cool part is they were able to compete with guys like Michael Jackson for airtime on MTV.
The top video,
who was doing
when Mark Goodman was counting down the top 20, it was always between Mike and them.
Well, and not even that. It's not even just a video for video.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing music videos. Michael Jackson was doing small movies every time he released a music video.
Look at Thriller, for example.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and he had some real directors making those. That was like an A-list Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
It was
So we're going to carry that conversation on over in Rumble. I know some people have headed over there. The link is in the pin to the top on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for being on the YouTube side for this conversation. I know we've kind of cut it short a bit, time constraints. So when I get over to Rumble, we'll play some tracks. But please join us over there.
Because we're about to play some music, folks. What's up?
And you already got 13 people on Rumble.
So we're going to go over there, play some music. So we will see you over there. If you can't make it over there from the YouTube side, thank you for being there. But yeah, let's. I'm going to end that in end the YouTube side. I was going to end it before the browser just crashed. It's telling me something. So thank you. See you over on Rumble.